Okay, so I've got the recording going. Again, we're going to go over the Hope and Zell scholarship information. A lot of students have questions about this particular scholarship because it's mainly for Georgia students. And so we'll go through that information and hopefully answer most of your questions. Okay, let me see if I can get my PowerPoint to work. Hold on. Give me 1 second. And if you hear the drumming in the background, that is because the band is performing or practicing in the gym or in the lunchroom, which is right next to my office. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about, and it's just our agenda for the evening, we're going to talk about Georgia Student Finance Commission, the Hope and Zell Grant, the Hope and Zell Scholarship, which Hope and Zell are two different things, and the grant and scholarship are two different things. We'll talk about the GPA calculation that goes into all of that. We will talk about the rigor requirements, because a lot of students and even parents are confused about what that means for Hope Scholarship purposes. We'll talk through the deadlines, test score submission, which is only required for one of the options, and then I'll take questions at the end. Okay, so Georgia Student Finance Commission, that is I'm seeing people on the screen, so hi. Georgia Student Finance Commission is one of the organizations in Georgia. It's the one that just basically handles all of the state and the lottery funded scholarships, grants, service, cancelable loans, everything regarding Hope funding and everything goes through Georgia Student Finance Commission, so GSFC. It is one of the most successful state aid operations in the nation. So a lot of other states have lottery funded programs, but they don't always end up using the lottery money towards education. So, you know, that's one of the great things about the state of Georgia is that Georgia Student Finance Commission has really handled the lottery money very, very well and tried to make it equitable for students to have access to the money. They do also provide free financial aid consultation. They're sort of experts about financial aid, so you can always reach out to our representative. Back in October, we did do a financial aid night. We pretty much do it every year in early October or early November. And our representative always comes to the meeting and gives out her information. And that PowerPoint for the financial aid night is on the counseling website. It went into way more detail than I'm going to go into today about financial aid in general. But Georgia Student Finance Commission's mission is to ensure that Georgians have an opportunity to access education beyond high school. So that's really their goal. Okay, so let's talk about the grant program. So grants for Hope and Zell, they are different than the scholarships. So again, grants are different than the Hope or Zell Miller Scholarship. It is designed mainly for students who intend to enter a diploma or certificate program through a technical college. So grants are usually done for students that want to go to a tech school, not necessarily the typical four-year degree option. You know, some of these programs might be welding or HVAC maintenance or being an electrician or going into cosmetology or certain things that are more trade oriented. So Hope and Zell Miller grants are for that purpose. The awesome thing about the grant program is that there is no GPA requirement out of high school. So for Hope and Zell Miller Scholarship, there is a GPA requirement, but for the grant program, you could graduate high school with a low GPA, go into a diploma or certificate program at a technical college, and be able to start right out with having a lot of your tuition maybe paid for. So for the HOPE grant, you have to maintain a 2.0 GPA while you're in college working on that diploma or the certificate program. If you can mute, if you're not muted, please mute. So you have to keep a 2.0 GPA or higher for the HOPE grant once you're in college, and it pays a portion of the tuition. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. For the Zell Miller grant, that pays full tuition to a technical school for the diploma or certificate program, and you have to maintain a 3.5 or higher for the diploma or the certificate program. So once you're in college and you're working towards that certificate program, if you maintain the 2.0 or you maintain the 3.5, that depends how much funding you'll end up getting. Okay. These are the eligible institutions for the grant programs. There are a couple of public institutions that, like four-year colleges, that might be a good fit, like Atlanta Metro or Columbus State, Dalton State, Middle Georgia, or UNG. But there are very specific programs that this applies to. So the diploma or the certificate programs, it's very specific programs. So you've got to reach out to the technical school or one of those institutions that are on the screen. So like Lanier Tech, Gwinnett Tech, North Georgia Tech. Gwinnett Tech, is right down the street from us. They're over by Avalon. So, that is a good option, the grant program. If, if you're a student or you are the student on the line that's interested in maybe not doing a traditional four-year public institution, this is a great way to start college, get your feet wet, get your, career going, and get moving along with life with minimal, financial aid repercussions down the line. Okay, so let's talk about the scholarship program, because that's different than the grant program. And there's two types. There's the HOPE and the Zell Miller Scholarship. So HOPE is one type of program, and then Zell Miller is another type of program. They have some common characteristics that are on the screen. So both of these are available to Georgia residents who have demonstrated academic achievement. It is a merit-based scholarship. So there are certain things that students have to meet in order to qualify. The specific eligibility requirements are that you have to meet U.S. citizenship, or eligible non-citizens also are allowed to earn the HOPE or Zell scholarship. You have to meet Georgia residency requirements. You have to be enrolled as a degree-seeking student at a University System of Georgia school, a technical college System of Georgia school, or an eligible private college in Georgia. You have to comply with selective service registration requirements. Remember, this is a scholarship through the state. It's financial aid basically that you're receiving through the state, and so they can make whatever requirements they want, and this is one of them. So you have to comply with selective service registration. So if you're a male and you're 18, you have to register for the selective service. You have to meet academic achievement standards. I'll talk about those next. You have to be in good standing on all your student loans or any other financial aid programs. You have to comply with the Georgia Drug-Free Post-Secondary Education Act. So there are certain things that if you've ever had to go to court about, any kind of drug charges or anything like that, it could deter being able to get the HOPE scholarship. And you can't have exceeded the maximum award limits for any HOPE program. So there's very specific requirements that you have to meet. for the program overall. In regards to the Hope Scholarship, this is the big thing is that for Hope Scholarship, you have got to graduate with a 3.0 or higher. It is as it's calculated by Georgia Student Finance Commission. So the way Georgia Student Finance Commission may calculate things is completely different than how Fulton County calculates your GPA and your numeric average on your transcript. So Fulton County has a numeric average that they use. It's on a 100-point scale. That is not how Georgia Student Finance Commission calculates it. So I'm going to go in depth a little bit more in a minute, but just know that you have to have a 3.0 core GPA, basically. The GPA is calculated not by us, not by Fulton County, not by Chattahoochee counselors. It's calculated by Georgia Student Finance Commission, that overarching umbrella organization that handles the scholarship. You have to have at least 4 rigor requirements that have to be met. So that is one of the requirements. You've got to meet that. Chattahoochee High School is an eligible accredited high school, and we do upload the final transcripts to Georgia Student Finance Commission. So what happens for seniors is that at the end of May, they graduate, woo, and then we spend the next week making sure the transcripts are accurate, and we upload them to Georgia Student Finance Commission, and we send them off also to their receiving schools as to where they want to go. Again, they have to receive the final transcript in order to do a final GPA calculation. So that has to happen, early June. With the Hope Scholarship, a portion of the tuition is paid. So Hope does not pay for books, for housing, for meal plans, for student fees, anything like that. Hope only pays for a portion of the tuition. And what's interesting is it's all based on lottery dollars. So the award really can fluctuate from year to year. The information is always available on the Georgia Futures website. And for any private institutions, it's usually, if you are not muted, can you please mute? If you can please mute yourself if you're online. So one of the things to know is that it fluctuates from year to year, so the same award amount may differ from year to year depending on how much lottery money came into the state. For private institutions, like if you were to go to Mercer or Emory or something like that, it's a flat award amount per semester. It is a very low amount, maybe, oh gosh, I don't know off the top of my head, but maybe like $2,000 a semester. And to go to Emory, it's like thousands. So please know that it's just a percentage of the tuition that for a public institution, but for private schools, it's just a flat award amount that you're going to be given. It's not going to be a portion of the tuition like it is for a state institution. Okay, for Zell Miller Scholarship, this is where it really gets different. So for Hope, there's a minimum GPA requirement of a 3.0, but for Zell Miller, there's the requirement of a 3.7 as calculated by Georgia Student Finance Commission. A 3.7 is exceptionally high. So that's a very, very high GPA, and it is hard to keep a 3.7 because the more credit hours that are banked, the harder it is to, pull up a GPA. And it's just hard to fluctuate a GPA once you've already taken so many credits. So by the time you reach senior year, 3.7 is it's a high GPA. Again, the GPA is calculated by Georgia Student Finance Commission, not Fulton County, not Chattahoochee, not your school counselor. At least 4 rigor requirements have to be met. But the additional requirement on top of the 3.7 and the rigor is that you also have to have a required test score prior to graduating high school. So for the ACT, it's a composite of a 26 or higher, and that's in a single administration. So that 26 is from one time. There's no super scoring or anything like that. And same with the SAT. You have to have a total test score of a 1200 or higher. plus the 3.7, or a 26 or higher plus the 3.7. You do not have to have it on both. It could be one or the other, but it is on one test. So there's no mixing and matching, or, I took the writing this year and I took the math on this administration and I want to combine them. That is not the way it works. So please know that, you've got to make sure you have a test score that meets it. And you do have until graduation to make that happen. The hard thing is for the Zell Miller Scholarship, I find that students may have the 3.7 and they don't have the test score, or they've got the test score and they're really fighting to try and get that 3.7. So just know that, it's got to be both. Again, we're an eligible accredited high school, and we will upload our final transcripts to Georgia Student Finance Commission, again, first week of June. That's usually when that happens. And then tuition is paid directly to the college, the Georgia college. For Zell Miller, it's 100% tuition paid. It doesn't include books. It doesn't include student fees. It doesn't include housing or the meal plan or anything like that, or the parking or any of those extra costs or whatever. It is strictly a tuition that is paid. That is for a public school that they'll pay 100%. If you go to a private school, it is a very, very, very small portion that will get paid. It is a flat rate. It might be like $3,000 per semester or something like that. You can check the rates online. But I just say that because I think some students are like, oh, well, I got Zell and I'm going to Emory. Well, and that's great, but that's not going to pay the full tuition like if you had gone to Georgia Tech. Okay. So just know that it is a little bit different depending on the college. Okay, let me move along here. So let's talk about GPA calculation, because, we like to make it confusing around here. And for GPA, for Hope and Zell, it's different, like I said, than what's reported on the Fulton County transcript. Georgia Student Finance Commission does the calculation. Again, I have to say this repeatedly because I feel like nobody believes me until it's important to them. But we don't do the calculation. We send off the transcripts to Georgia Student Finance Commission, and then it is uploaded to the account there. And then we will, it's one of those things that you can go online and students can check their Georgia Futures account for the most accurate GPA calculation. It's updated every semester. So as of right now, I know that seniors have been uploaded for including their fall grades. I think that they're working on the final verifications for the underclassmen. It'll probably happen by the end of the month. So underclassmen could probably check their Georgia Futures account and make sure, they can check and see where it stands. What's awesome about Georgia Student Finance Commission is that they do their calculation on a 4.0 scale. And I like it because it really gives students perspective about where they stand on a 4.0 without all the extras added in. So it's a good baseline. It does include all grades earned 9th through 12th grade. That could be used to satisfy a core course graduation requirement, and it converts to the 4.0. So an A is a 4, a B is a 3, a C is a 2, and for Fs you get 0 quality points. But for an AP, we don't offer IB, but if you're coming from a school that did, or if you take a dual enrollment, you do get an additional 0.5 added on if you got a C or a B. For students who took, for example, this is truly an example, but if a student took AP Environmental Science and they earned a 93 on their Fulton County transcript, you remove the 7 points to get to the unweighted average of an 86, and then that's going to be a B. A B for Hope is 3.0, okay? But because it was an AP class, then you get an additional 0.5. So it'd be 3.5 quality points for that class. No student can get higher than a 4.0. So unfortunately, if a student makes an A in an AP class or dual enrollment class, the max points that they can get is 4. They can't, Georgia Student Finance Commission, the highest ceiling of GPAs is a 4.0. So it can't go higher than that. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about it. I do recommend that students check their HOPE GPA report regularly. And one thing to know is that HOPE GPA does not include middle school courses at all, or most electives. Now I say most electives because some electives do count because they're considered an academic elective or a core elective, and so those electives do count towards the HOPE GPA, and these are just some examples. But if a student took a math support class like Algebra 1 support their 9th grade year, that class is going to count towards their overall HOPE GPA, and I use HOPE GPA broadly. This is also inclusive of Zell Miller GPA. It's the same one and the same. It's the same GPA calculation. But for Algebra 1 support, technically that's a math elective, and because it falls under a math umbrella, it counts towards HOPE. Same with AP Psychology. That's another popular class that 11th and 12th graders like to take. It's a great class, but because it's an AP class and it's also a social studies elective, because it's a social studies elective, it counts towards your HOPE GPA. Another example is Essentials of Healthcare. Essentials of Healthcare is the second year in the healthcare pathway for us. Essentials of Healthcare is one of those classes that when you take it, you also get an anatomy credit. The anatomy counts towards HOPE. So that grade counts towards HOPE GPA. A good way to kind of see what counts and what doesn't is by looking at the course numbers on the transcript. So if you go to your student's transcript, or if you are the student that's listening in, thank you. But if you go there and you look at your transcript, you will see that English classes, their course numbers start with a 23, and math start with a 27. And science starts with a 26 or a 40. These are the course numbers, the prefixes and the course numbers that are going to count towards the HOPE scholarship. So when you're looking, does this count? Does it not count? That kind of thing. This is a good guide to go by as to whether or not it would be included in the calculation. Your middle school stuff definitely does not count. Your most electives like weight training or band or art classes, all those kinds of things, none of those count towards HOPE. So it's good to know kind of where you stand. But like AP European History, it's going to count. AP Psych, any of your typical grad requirements like your world histories and your economics and things like that. But if you have concerns about it, this is a good guide to kind of start looking at your course numbers. Okay. Again, like I said, the HOPE GPA is a great way for a student to see where they do stand on a 4.0 scale without all the extras, without the weighted points, without their electives. It's a good baseline. I like for students to know where they stand on the 4.0 without all of that, so that when they are, determining colleges that they might want to apply for, and they go to the college website, it does give you an idea of, so for example, if you go to Kennesaw's website, it will say like a minimum GPA is required, and they're going to post their minimum GPA on a 4.0 scale. But if you look at the Fulton County transcript, it's really complicated to know, where do you stand on a 4.0 when you look and you see you're at an 86 or you're at a 95.2 or whatever. It's hard to know where you stand on the 4.0. You need to look and see where you are. You're certainly welcome to do your own calculation. Ms. Johnson held a GPA seminar last month in January, and that is going to be posted probably next week. But the recording for that, because that was a good seminar to learn about GPA calculation. So I don't want to go that in depth, but the HOPE GPA, I think, is the easiest way for a student to just quickly see kind of where they're at, because it takes into consideration you know, taking out the weight, taking out the electives and all of that kind of stuff. Keep in mind that your HOPE GPA calculation is only used for HOPE eligibility. It is used for nothing else. For college admissions, colleges are going to calculate their GPA the way they want to. We send the Fulton County transcript, of course, to colleges, and then they recalculate it. A lot of them in Georgia do use a similar version of the HOPE calculation, but it really depends on the college. So you really need to talk to them about admissions parts, but this is really just about HOPE and Zell. Again, HOPE and Zell calculations are done the exact same way. The only difference is that Zell Miller expectations are higher. It's the 3.7, it's the test scores. You know, so unless you have those additional qualifications, then you would just be HOPE eligible, because you can only be one, you can't be both. Okay, let's see here. Let's talk about rigor requirements, because this is a lot of confusion. I had a student really want to argue with me about it, didn't believe me, but when we were doing meetings in the media center, wanted to say that you had to have an AP class to meet the rigor requirement, and that is not true at all. So I just want to put that myth to bed. It is not the case. So students who are trying to be HOPE or Zell Miller scholarship eligible, they have to meet a minimum of 4 rigor classes during their 4 years in high school. So at some point during your 4 years of high school, you have to have taken at least 4 classes that Georgia Student Finance Commission considers rigorous. That is different than how admissions considers rigor. College admissions rigor is totally different than HOPE Zell rigor, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is that most students are going to meet the requirements of the rigor requirements because almost everybody at Chattahoochee, no, not everybody, but almost everybody is going to meet the requirement without much effort because of the way we do scheduling here at Chattahoochee. You're likely to take these classes without much effort. So for example, if a student takes on-level Algebra 2, advanced math decision making, which is it's a senior year math, but a little step below pre-calculus. If a student takes pre-calculus, if a student takes on-level chemistry, almost everybody in our school is going to take physics before they graduate. A second year of a language. So there's ways to get the rigor without ever having to take an AP class. And for example, if a student does Algebra 2, 11th grade year, and then does the advanced math decision making senior year, and then also does chemistry, and then does Spanish 2, they have met their rigor requirement for HOPE. Okay, I want to be very clear. A student could take, you know, an AP class, and that's fantastic. You're going to meet the rigor requirement. But for the students that are like, I don't know if I'm ready to take an AP class, that's fine. It's okay. There's plenty of colleges out there that require no APs. That's not one of the considerations. They're looking at your GPA. So it's important to know that you can get the HOPE scholarship without ever having taken an AP. Now, you do need to take either chemistry or physics, and you do need to have taken at least a second year of a language to probably meet it. But most students are going to meet it just by virtue of the classes that we pretty much have set as a standard. You can click on that rigor list, and at the end I'm going to show you the website for Georgia Futures, because the rigor list is listed on there. I just put the link on the PowerPoint. But it's a list of classes, and it goes through a lot of classes that we don't even offer, but it's for the whole state of Georgia. But I'm telling you, if you have a concern about whether or not your student's going to meet it, that's something you could bring up in the junior advisement meeting. So every year, counselors meet with all juniors on their caseload to go over things, and if you have a concern, that would be a good time to mention it, because we still have time for senior year to plan for it. The one thing I will say is I have had some students not want to take physics with us, and they want to do physical science instead online. Physical science does not meet the rigor requirements. So I really encourage students to do the physics with us. We have a traditional physics, which is a lot of math, and a traditional physics. And then we also offer a conceptual physics, which is less mathy, but you get the same credit and it still counts as rigor. So it still says physics on the transcript. So I would encourage students to try and do the physics with us just to get that extra, rigor requirement met. Okay, let's talk about deadlines, because a lot of students don't realize that you do actually have to apply for the Hope Scholarship or the Hope Grant. Students apply during their senior year. This is not something you should do 9th grade year, or 10th grade year, or 11th grade year. Any kind of financial aid is done in the senior year. And the deadline is the last day of the school term. But I do not want students to wait to do it. You should get it done earlier. The earlier you apply, the earlier your college can determine all of your awards or what kind of financial aid you're going to get. You kind of get your financial aid letter a little bit earlier. If there's a hang up and your application gets flagged for verifications or anything like that, you have time to kind of get it corrected and get it and make sure that everything is good to go by the time school starts in August. Students have two ways to apply. The first way is through the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. The other way is the the GSF app. And I really don't know what it stands for, other than it's the Georgia app that's easier than the FAFSA. So the FAFSA is a federal application, and it's to also qualify for additional aid. And it comes out every year. I think October 1st it opens, and it's one of those things that is lengthy. You have to have tax documents. You have to prove a lot of stuff in the document because it's a federal application. However, the GSF app is just a state of Georgia application, and it's pretty easy. It's like, what high school do you attend? What year are you graduating? Just verifying everything, and you submit it. It's not that difficult to do. Now, I have had some students do both applications, the FAFSA and the GSF app, just in case there was an issue with the FAFSA. Then the Hope stuff would go through on the GSF app without any issue. So just know that that is an option as well, that you could do both applications, but they do have to be done before the last day of the school term of your senior year. So, don't delay. Both of those applications are available on the gafutures.org website. Okay, and the newest thing is how to submit test scores. So the only reason you would submit a test score is for the Zell Miller Scholarship. If you are not going to qualify for Zell Miller, there's no reason to try and send a test score. It only applies for Zell Miller. Students have to upload test scores to Georgia Futures, their student account. There is a student document upload tab in their account when they log in, and you just have to make sure that you submit your scores as soon as you can. I will say that you're allowed to take the test as many times as you want, but you're only allowed to submit your best score, your one time. It's not a mix and match, like I said, but if you took it, say in August, and you didn't get the score you wanted, and you wanted to take it again in January, great. If it still wasn't where you wanted it to be, you could certainly take it again that semester, but you have to have a final score in one sitting, no later than the last day of the school term. And you really want to get everything uploaded as soon as possible. And this came to the upload directions about how to submit the test scores directly from the Georgia Futures website. And so, all of this is on their website. The big difference that I noticed, they used to make you always go to the testing agency and submit your score from there, but it wasn't working that great with SAT, so they've changed it. You can print your SAT score report and then you have to sign and date it and write this statement that it's a true and exact copy, blah, blah, blah. You save your document, you upload that to the document upload tab in your account. Whereas for ACT, you have to go to act.org, go into your account, request a score report to be sent directly to Georgia Student Finance Commission. And there's a certain recipient code that's listed here, the 2225 number. That's the almost like the school code that you need to send your ACT score, and just send your file to them directly through ACT. So you can't do, if you have an ACT score, you can't do the thing where you sign and date it and upload it that way. You have to go directly to the agency. They'll only let you do that for SAT. So those are the big highlights specific to Hope and Zell Miller. And then I'll take questions. I'm going to try and read through the chat really fast because, you know, like I said at the beginning, it's just me. And I'm trying to navigate doing this and monitoring the chat. But our next seminar is going to be March 16th at 5 o'clock. And the topic is going to be the college search process, the ins and outs of it. And Miss Jones, our other counselor, is going to do that seminar. And so let me see if I can read through the chat really fast and answer some of these questions. Yes, I am going to share the slides after this meeting. I'm recording this meeting, and it will be uploaded to the counseling website either later this week or maybe next week because our professional assistant is out. So it might be next week. Oh, and thank you, Ms. Ramirez, Janine. Yes, it's going to be posted probably, I would say probably early next week. For the Zell Miller Scholarship, does a student need to have a 1200 on the SAT on the first attempt? No. So you can retake it as many times as you want to get to that 1200. It's just one sitting. So that one sitting could happen at any point. Okay, Ms. Bailey, if a student took 5 science classes, do all 5 count in the GPA or only the first 4? No, all of them. All of them would count. Anything that's an academic class at any point during your high school career, that will go towards the overall Hope GPA. I don't know if I can email out the recording, but it will be posted to the website. Oh, and somebody asked about how many years of second language students should complete. You know, I'm getting this question a lot, especially in the last couple of weeks because we've been talking about scheduling. I'll tell you, regarding languages, none are required for graduation. You do not have to have any language to graduate from a Fulton County school. However, if you're looking to go to a 4-year institution in the United States, it is best practice to have a minimum of 2. Yes, the years that you did in middle school, if you accepted the credit, that can count as 1 year, and then doing the second year, your 9th grade year, that's fantastic. Or some students did it 9th and 10th or 10th and 11th, whatever. You can have a minimum of 2 years. However, there are a lot of schools that strongly encourage or highly recommend a 3rd year of a language. That depends on the college. I will say the more selective or competitive the institution or the admissions processes are, the more I would encourage a student to try and do at least the 3rd year. So just know, you know, that's something to consider. Yeah, for grants, you do not have to qualify financially. You just have to fill out that application that you want to do the Hope grant or the Zell Miller grant with the technical college for a specific diploma or certificate program, and they will help you through that process. Gwinnett Tech is excellent at helping students with navigating the grant process. Really all the technical schools are, and some of the diploma and certificate programs at the technical schools are really high demand jobs right now. A lot of jobs that they need people to get through these skilled trades programs really fast, and they are working with students to try and manage the responsibility for the financial piece of it with the grants. So I would reach out to them if you have questions. The student does not have to have a confirmed college acceptance in order to apply for Hope or Zell. That's totally separate. In fact, when you do Hope or Zell, you can put in, I think, up to 10 colleges that you are considering, so that when your final transcript goes through, they get the transcript when they know that you're going, when you've committed somewhere. Yes, your daughter or whoever can take a gap year or a year off before applying for Hope or Zell. If you look at the actual Georgia Futures website, there is a limitation on how many years. I want to say it's 7 years has to be used within 7 years or something like that, but it's a long time. So there's a good amount of leeway to be able to, pick it up later. The other thing I failed to mention, and this is a good point, is that there are some students that are not going to make that 3.0 cutoff, and that is okay. Students can then go to college, do a year, and then reapply. Just because you didn't get Hope Scholarship right out of high school does not mean you're not going to be eligible to utilize those funds later. If you have the 3.0 after you've done, I think, 30 credit hours out of college, then they can reevaluate your student and then make decisions about getting the funding at that point. The only difference is for Zell Miller. Zell Miller can only be right out of high school. It cannot be picked up later. So you couldn't get to college, get the 3.7 or whatever, and then get Zell Miller. It doesn't work that way. It's a one and done. Zell Miller is kind of a one and done thing. But Hope Scholarship, absolutely. Everybody can get Hope. Let's see. Where can we go to see which scholarship we apply for? Okay, so in terms of qualifications, it's really first, the question is your student really looking at a technical school, or is your student looking more at a four-year university, like a Kennesaw or Georgia Southern or Clemson or Auburn? Well, no. I take that back. Clemson and Auburn, take those off the table because those are out of state. A UGA or Georgia Tech. So that's the first question. And then the second question is, if you're looking at a four-year institution in the state of Georgia, and I'm just using Kennesaw as an example, but if you really wanted to go there and whether or not you qualify, you're going to look to see, do you have the 3.7 and the test scores or not? If you don't have the 3.7 and the test scores, then you're going to be looking at Hope Scholarship, which is totally fine because it's typically paying between 80 and 90% tuition in general. Okay, but I would just, you apply one way and then they make the determination. So you're not checking off which one you're going to do. The only difference is if you think you might qualify for Zell, you want to go ahead and send in your test scores. Let's see, how can the student monitor the Hope GPA calculation? They have a Georgia Futures account. Every student has a Georgia Futures account that they've probably set up at some point. If they haven't, they have to create an account. They have to make sure when they create their account that it has the high school name. And I know this sounds like a no-brainer to say Chattahoochee High School in the checkbox, but unfortunately there's also a Chattahoochee County High School. And do not make that mistake of accidentally putting Chattahoochee County High School, because then nothing's going to match up. So make sure you put Chattahoochee High School, and you also have to have your student's social security number put into the actual profile. The other piece of the information is that you have to have provided your social security number at some point, whether it was like in enrollment or you have to bring it in to the school so that we can have the social security number on file. I know that there's a lot of people that do not trust anybody with the social security card, and I get it. But in terms of financial aid and Hope or Zell, that's the only way to be able to check your account online is by doing that. Okay. So yeah, Georgia Futures, and it updates every semester. You're only required to do the ACT or SAT for Zell Miller, not for Hope Scholarship. You don't really apply for both at the same time. You just submit your application to FAFSA or GSF apps, and then they make the determination of what you're eligible for. For scholarships, do we have to apply every year after entering college? Usually with Hope and Zell, it is a rolling thing. As long as you maintain your GPA, the funding is going to maintain. That's a good question for the financial aid office once you get into college. If a student graduated from Chattahoochee, then went out of state for undergraduate, can they transfer back into a Georgia university or college for a master's degree and qualify for Hope? Wendy, I wish I had a specific answer. I know that this was answered during the financial aid night, but I do not remember the answer and I don't want to give you wrong information. So that is something that you would probably need to ask the Georgia Futures rep, our Georgia Student Finance Commission representative about, and her information was given out in that presentation. Or you can do the chat feature on Georgia Futures. They have a chat feature and you could ask them there. That's a real specific question, especially about a master's degree. I don't know if they pay for masters or not. I'm sorry. I only know so much. Okay, so are there any other questions that I could answer? Hopefully you have found this helpful, and I will certainly get this PowerPoint and recording, I'll get it uploaded onto the counseling webpage probably early next week. And just know, I already answered that about Hope and Zell. You can't get both. It's one or the other. You either get Hope or you get Zell. It's all based on the level of achievement that the student has gotten. Okay. The ACT and SAT scores do not have to be taken in senior year. They could have been taken 10th grade year. It doesn't matter as long as it's a qualifying score. Okay, these are fantastic questions. I love that y'all all joined me. I know I sent a lot of emails to people today, so I apologize if you got multiple emails from me. I was on fire today. And I just love that y'all came out and you got information, and hopefully you're more knowledgeable moving forward, especially about the rigor requirements, because the majority of students are going to meet the rigor requirement, but you can certainly check the list online if that's something that you're concerned about. Okay, y'all. Oh, I see all my students. I see all my students joining or have joined and listened in, so thank you. Okay, so I'm going to leave the meeting. If y'all think of any other questions, you can let us know, let your counselor know. And then I'm just glad we could help. Oh, Ms. Sharon, you said, how can we call for questions? You probably send an email to your counselor if you have additional questions. But if you want a specific question for Georgia Student Finance Commission, I would reach out to the rep, and those are on the website. Okay, thank y'all all. I'm going to leave the meeting and close the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.